I just mentioned that. I wanted.
Thanks, Doug, for the heads up.
I just didn't want to surprise anybody or send out information out into the world.
It'll just be a warning. Lori, I really love your sweater. Thank you. You're welcome. Reminds me of the Technicolor Dreamcoat. Joseph's coat of many colors. Yeah.
Maybe it's not there yet.
She has really good stuff. She did a concert like that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I was on, but I couldn't get the sound, and then but it was my technical end. All right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're glad.
I'm glad to be glad.
Welcome to Saturday Night Live Life Recovery, where we get the golden opportunity to deal with our stuff, and with the idea that, dealing with it in an honest and open way brings a little more order and regulation into our life, which will improve it, order it, and the idea here in recovery is to make an inward change, because when you change on the inside, heart-wise and cognitively wise, that changes everything in your life, everything around you. Because when you change, everything is affected. So the only promise that I make is that, if you give it a chance, it will make a difference in your life. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So tonight, this is 8/1, right? So this is a new month. So that means we have a new step. So it's the 8th month, so we have step 8. That's the way we do our steps. Most of you know that. Saying that for you folks out on the internet. And by the way, welcome internet folks, whether you're watching live right now or you'll be tuning in later. Because I have a lot of people that say, well, I don't see it live, but I watch it later, and so, in fact, I had a guy ask me the other day, he says, do you have this trademark? I said, no. He says, well, I was thinking about doing something like that. I said, well, go right ahead. He was from northern Missouri somewhere. I don't remember actually the city that he's in. So anyway, he watches regularly. So hi, Kenny. So all right. Tonight's topic, step 8. We made a list of all persons we have harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. Now, we're not talking about making amends here. We're talking about starting the process, making a list, reflecting on people that we've harmed. And we'll be talking about that as we go into our topic here tonight. And then coming to the place that we're in the process of becoming willing to make an amends. We're not talking about making amends right yet. We got a whole month to get ready, okay? So that's what we're working on. And tonight, the topic is forgiven to forgive. Matthew 18:23-35. So that's what our topic is. And let's start off with the first question. Now, Robert's going to be sharing the step, and then Vanessa's going to be doing the reflections and all the questions. I don't know if that method that by texting them to you, if there was a better way of doing it, if there is.
I read them and now I'm just gonna wing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, those secondary questions are on the sheet,
Oh,
and so they're called the discussion questions. And we do have a sheet there if anybody wants a sheet. Won't you put one for Naomi there where she's sitting? So you're welcome. All right. So what does forgiven to forgive mean? And Tommy has his hand up first.
Forgive and forgive is the biblical truth that because God has freely forgiven us through Jesus Christ, He calls us to freely forgive those who have sinned against us. Forgiveness does not mean saying that what happened was acceptable, forgetting it, or necessarily restoring trust. It means releasing our right to personal revenge and entrusting justice to God.
Any thoughts on that, Tommy?
Well, it means that I don't get to, if I really forgive them, that I'm not going to try and get them back. And
You mean like revenge?
Yeah, that frees, not being so revengeful frees me up from a lot of just stuff that I don't want to go through.
What does that mean?
Like stress is fine.
Oh.
A lot of stress.
Oh,
Take a lot of my time.
yeah.
Emotionally.
So have you found that what we're talking about here tonight as beneficial in your
Yes.
life?
Oh yeah.
You want to give us, illustration or an idea or story or a picture?
Tell us a story.
Is it about Chris? The story you want to tell?
The story's about Chris. No, I don't know Chris stories. Anyhow, what's the question, Doug?
Would you like to expound on? You said it was beneficial in your life.
To not have to go through all the emotions and all the crap that comes with being a revengeful person. And my story would be, I've had times in my life where I thought that I could take action and set the person straight, but it just blew up in my face.
What does that mean?
It didn't work. It caused there was failure. It caused more problems than what it was worth. Yeah.
So kind of like the deal that I say, don't throw gas on a fire.
Yeah, like someone took from me, so I took from them, and I ended up in jail.
Ah,
Not saying,
hypothetically speaking.
hypothetical.
Okay. Yeah. Did you have something you wanted to say, Chris?
Not really.
Are you sure? You want to add to that, or
I just wasn't good at
you weren't good at?
revenge.
Ah,
I just didn't want to deal with it. It's just stupid in the first place. So, I'm not, in the back of my mind, I would have liked to, but I just know that I was no good at it.
anybody else?
what was it? If we're good at revenge?
Our definition of forgiven to forgive. What does it mean? And
Want me to read it again?
and sure.
Forgiven to forgive is a biblical truth that because God has freely forgiven us through Jesus Christ, He calls us to freely forgive those who have sinned against us. Forgiveness does not mean saying that what happened was acceptable, forgetting it, or necessarily restoring trust. It means releasing our right to personal revenge and trusting justice to God.
And my question to him was, did he find that to be beneficial in his life? And he said yes, and he told us a story. And so that's,
Okay.
do you want to add your story to this?
Well, I want to add something that like it's just revelation here.
All right.
Is I feel that this is, you know, God requesting us to be in alignment with him.
Yeah.
Because he's so forgiving that he's asking, like, I give you the free will to forgive or not forgive. Do you want to be in alignment with me and my truth and what I have in your life? Or do you want to continue to hold these debts against other people, and that's going to hold you in bondage? So are you going to align with bondage, or are you going to align with freedom?
In other words, just let him take care of it because he'll take care of it.
Well, we have to do our part. We have to do our part. You know,
We don't have to, but it's in our best interest
It is. Yes. That's, yeah.
because,
But what I'm saying is, like, God's not going to just take our unforgiveness from us. That's why I say, like, in order for us to be free from bondage,
right?
we have to do our part in order for God to be able to. You know, we have to be willing. We have to give it to him. We have to forgive. We have to walk that out. We have to peel the layers of it. And so that's why I'm saying, like, we have to. But you're right. We don't have to. But in order for God to do it, he's not going to just take it from you without you freely giving it over to him. letting it go.
And that's what our lessons have been about, and that's what this one will be about.
Mhm.
And I think, as Chris just said, something about humility, that having the right heart in the matter, that we are willing to make a change. And that's what step 7 is about, is to help us to get ready to be willing to make amends and to be able to do that. One of the things that helps us to do that is this forgiveness that we're talking about. Because if we don't have forgiveness, are we able to really make a true amends? Yes, Rob.
Throughout my experience, I've found I don't really have anything to forgive other people of. I have a lot of stuff for them to forgive me of. So that's but still, we have to be willing to make amends to those that we're asking forgiveness from. Number one is, will you forgive me? I know I did wrong, and I'm really trying to be a different person now, and I would appreciate it if you would give me a chance to show you that I'm different, or something like that. You know?
But there's one more, there's one more element in this, and that is being able to come to peace with ourselves.
Right. And
Which one terminology is being able to forgive ourselves or accept God's forgiveness
Yeah,
for ourselves.
accept God's forgiveness. So that's the big thing for my own self, is I had a long time where I felt like God couldn't forgive me. I was unforgivable. So coming to that point where I realize that God loves me no matter what helps me accept.
He always has and he always will.
Yeah. And it's helped me accept his forgiveness. So that in turn helps me to be willing to face others and say, hey, I had a bad time in my life and I did bad things, and I sure love you, and I hope that you can forgive me. And that's difficult.
So even though we might not have other people on that list, we definitely need to have ourselves on that list to forgive.
Yeah.
Because we can say we accept God's forgiveness, but a lot of times we go deep diving in that sea of forgetfulness and take back those things, and because we keep remembering them ourselves and not holding it against ourselves too.
I got a question.
Yeah,
Who wants it?
just ask
Vanessa.
it. Okay.
You both can't have the same answer here.
So what about making amends to ourselves?
I think that that's very important. That's actually like a process that I'm in, and I have been in for like the last couple of months. But it took me like being out of chaos and out of that unforgiveness space to where I'm actually able to. So like a big thing for me is getting my space organized and not living in disorder anymore. To where like before, whenever I was overwhelmed and my kids were at home and I was in these toxic relationships, I lived out of laundry baskets. I never hung anything up. Nothing was ever organized. Nothing had a home. And it was just constant visual chaos. And it was a visual representation of how I felt internally. And so since I've decluttered internally, I've decluttered externally. And boy, let me tell you, my jeans are with my jeans. And it's beautiful. And I'm not living out of laundry baskets. And I've even been able to pare down the stuff that I don't need anymore. And so whenever, we talk about hoarding is a thing that has always ran in my family. Hoarding is like the opposite end of obsessive compulsive disorder, but instead of order, you got chaos, but it's the same disease. But it's a visual representation of how you feel, either super restricted or super chaotic. And so now that the chaos and everything's in balance, it's not there anymore. And so, yeah. If that
Awesome.
answers your question.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
She did much better than I would have.
Well, I'm curious to hear what you'd have to say on that, if you like.
Well, matter of fact, I really did some pretty heavy cleaning and decluttering today, and I felt good about it.
Awesome.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say? Let's go forward. And so I have a summary here of Matthew 18, 23 through 35, and that is our today's scripture. But this is a little bit of a summary here, and it's a key principle I've got written down here. It says, I forgive others because God has forgiven me far more than I could ever be asked to forgive. That God has forgiven me. He's forgiven us so much more than we could ever ask to forgive. The more I understand His forgiveness, the more willing I become to extend that same forgiveness to others. So, to really help us, and that's what the lesson is about here, is for we're really able to get in touch with this, recognizing that we have been forgiven, like you said a while ago, Robert, and which will enhance or enable us to be more forgiving of others and of ourselves, I believe. Any comments on that? You agree with that or disagree with that?
We agree with everything you say.
Well, thank you, Chris. Did you say something, Robert?
No, I agree. Yeah.
All right. I am about to run out of time. Let's jump down here. There was a lot of good stuff on here. What does this parable teach? We're talking about this parable of the unforgiving servant. And it says the king. What happens is that the king called in the folks that he had loaned money, and he called this one guy in. He in today's money, it would be over $1 million. And the man asked him to forgive him. And so have pity on me and forgive me. So he did. And then he left, and he was his indebtedness for $1 million had left him. But he went out and found somebody that owed him $1,000, grabbed him by the neck and said, "Pay me, and if you don't pay me, I'm putting you in prison until you pay." Another servant saw what had taken place and told the king. The king had this man brought to him. He said, "Hey, I forgave you such a great debt. Why couldn't you have forgiven your fellow servant a much smaller debt?" And he said, and so he said, you know, I have changed my mind. I'm going to send you to prison until you pay the debt. How long does it take to pay $1 million when you're in prison?
Forever.
Yeah, so that's
Never pay it.
yeah. I don't think you. The fact of it is, we can't pay our debt, right? And so, but one thing that we can do is that we can share God's mercy that He has shared with us with others. That's kind of the synopsis of this parable here. So the point is not that other people's sin is insignificant. Yeah, that's not the point. Yes, problems are problems. But the fact of it is, if you're holding on to it, kind of like what you were talking about a while ago, Chris, that it always backfired on you, and Tommy, you basically said the same thing, that if we hold that anger and resentment and looking for revenge, we're the one that's getting poisoned. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And the other person may or may not even know anything about it.
Yeah.
And I have this statement in here somewhere, and it's a common statement nowadays, is that you're drinking poison expecting somebody else to die, but that's not how it works. So some wounds are deep and life-changing. Rather, Christ teaches that God's mercy towards us is so immeasurably great, that it becomes the model for how we extend mercy to others. And that's in the beginning of things, particularly when we're still hurt and angry, it's hard. But like you said a while ago, Tommy, that's where you were, but you figured out that didn't work so well for you. And that's the way that it is. So step 8, how does step 8 connect with forgiven to forgive? Well, I really like this first statement up here. It says step 8 is about relationship. Step 8 is trying to help us to engage in relationships. Relationship with God, relationship with ourselves, relationship with others. And so, and the way that we do that is we make a list of all peoples that we've harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. Become willing. And so, and usually, and we'll talk about this probably in step 9. What if they're dead? What if they're gone? What if we can't find them? And the big part is not the amends, it's the becoming willing part, in my opinion. Anybody disagree with that? And if you are willing, then it's not a big deal whether you go ahead and you clean the slate, or you're not able to clean the slate, but you want to if you have a chance. And then some people do make amends with with other, they do things for other people to make amends for this particular situation because they weren't able to make amends. Does that make sense? So, before we can make amends, God often needs to deal with these two things. Number one, the guilt we carry. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes. And number two, the bitterness we hold on to. And that's where a lot of it comes, is the guilt and the bitterness. And when we come into forgiveness, and we start to let those things go, that means our heart is starting to change. And, hey, and it don't always happen all at once. Sometimes it's a process. Recently, I was talking to a person that was wanted to forgive someone that had really hurt them terribly, and they knew they wanted to for a long time, but they knew that it was messing up their life spiritually and physically because they couldn't do it. They wanted to, but they couldn't do it. Does that make sense? It's a tough place to be, right?
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yes, and it's very possible, and so we just talked about it, and you have to change your perception of what is it. Number one, what is it you want? What is it you really want? What is it you really want? And what are you doing to prevent it or to process what it is you want? And that's the deal. And sometimes we have to begin to see that person differently than they are. I had a person that borrowed $10,000 from me. This has been many years ago, and they had a situation where they had to file bankruptcy, and I understood. I told them I understand, but several years after that, they wanted to borrow more money from me, and I think I've told this story here before, and I just told them, I said, no, we're not going to do that. I mean, we did that, and they got really offended at my answer and no, and got really angry, and told me that I had a demon, and that I had an anger problem. And I said, okay, well, that may be the case, but I'm not the one that's yelling here. And I didn't say that. That's what I was thinking. And but I still didn't have anger in my heart or anything like that. It's just, I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that. Yes,
I
sir.
ever think that maybe they did that because it'll help them in their minds not find a way to not have to pay you back the original amount?
Ask the question again.
I said, do you ever think that maybe they did that to help them in their heads, like just for a way to just not have to pay you back?
Well, I don't know. You're asking me to read his mind, and he
People do that.
he wanted yeah, they could trying to redirect things, but how would I know for sure? He needed some money, and so that was that deal, and so anyway, but my point, every time he saw me up to that point, he'd always tell me he was going to pay me, and I always told him, hey, I let that go. And I did let it go. I mean, I didn't have a emotion, as far as I know, I didn't have an emotional pull on there. I just knew that I couldn't do what he asked me.
So he didn't even pay any of it back?
Some of it came back beforehand, some payments he had made, but
Nothing significant.
but by the time we got to that point where I had to let it go, you know, probably it was way more than he owed me, more than what he borrowed. So, but it didn't matter. I let it go, and really I let it go. And when you let it go, you're able to not have the weight of that pushing you anymore. And I told him that I was just believing God that he'd get it back to me in another way. And I think he did. So,
And why do you think that?
do I?
And why do you think that?
Because I'm blessed.
Give us a story, darn it.
I don't have a specific,
Oh, you think you did, you just think you did then.
I'm pretty sure that he did.
Oh.
And so, as far as I'm concerned, he did. How about that? I'm sorry I don't have a specific story to tell you.
I thought maybe you.
But I did invest some money with a guy several years after that. It was an investment deal, and
You need some money?
and the money got stolen, and
Really?
it was in a South American country, stolen by the government, and so and that's as close as I'm going to come to talking about that. Except a year ago, this guy called me, and it's been like 10 years. He called me, and I hadn't talked with him in a long time, and he called the church and I talked with him. He says, I finally got money enough to pay you. I'll send you a check. I said, okay.
Did he?
He did. And, you know, because we had a good friendship up to that point, but then after that, he kind of, you know, he moved to Alaska. So he moved from South America to Alaska. And he had stuff up there in Alaska. So anyway, I shouldn't have got into all those stories. So
Oh, that's good stuff. You like it. So do you still let people borrow money?
I kind of do, but it's very structured. Yes,
Can I loan $100?
you can loan me. You can loan me $100 if you want.
Can I borrow $100?
Do you want the answer right now, or you want to wait till later?
I think I pretty much know.
Oh, okay.
No, you don't.
And many years ago, I made a policy that I do not bail people out of jail. So in case any of you get thrown in jail, just remember, don't call me, because I'm not bailing you out. Okay. And so anyway, just.
Will you send me money while I'm in there?
So are we ready to go forward? Who's reading the steps?
Will you testify on my behalf, though?
Testify. I've gone to court a lot. And I always tell people, I said, you want me to come and testify, just as long as you know that I tell the truth. And so, but I don't offer anything extra. They have to ask me questions. That's the way I do it.
Yeah. Good.
Twelve steps. Step one, we admitted that we were powerless. Let me start over there. Step one, we admitted that we were powerless over our problems and our lives had become unmanageable. Step two, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step three, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Step 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, we made a list of all persons we have harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, we made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. Step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. Step 12, having a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and practice these principles in all of our affairs. And back to step 8 where we are. We made a list of all persons we have harmed and became willing to make amends to them all.
Thank you, Willie.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Should I start or?
Well, I was trying to get say hi to somebody on there, and hi, Lori. So, okay. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and ask that question. Why did you select this topic tonight? The topic that we're
Forgive and to forgive. Well, actually, Vanessa chose it and asked if it would be okay if we did that, and I said, sure, let's do that one.
I knew that, but I thought I might as well go ahead and ask her. So we'll ask her when she gets up there.
Okay.
We'll put that same question on her if she doesn't mind me asking one more thing of her.
Okay.
So how could struggles become part of God's purpose for your life?
Well, I think we have to learn that there's consequences to our actions, and I've definitely suffered many consequences of my actions. And I think even though I went back to my addiction after those consequences, and as a result suffered more consequences, but eventually I got the point that it doesn't, there's no reason to beat your head against the wall and just keep on doing the same thing. It's the definition of insanity to expect a different result if you don't make a change in your behavior.
That. So let's go forward.
All right.
Can everybody hear all right?
Step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So tonight we're on the subject forgiven to forgive. Listing all the people we have harmed will probably trigger a natural defensiveness.
Do you agree or disagree with that sentence?
Yeah.
What do you
you think that means?
Well, it's kind of humiliating, because that list can be very long for some of us. And so as I wrote each name down, I'm thinking, and I think it would be worse if I felt like they had harmed me as well. I think that would make it worse. I felt terrible just making the list of all the people that I've harmed, because it reminded me of what kind of things I used to do, So, and then as we go on here, it'll talk about.
Go ahead.
With each name we write down, another mental list may begin to form, a list of the wrongs that have been done to us. How can we deal with the resentment we hold toward others so we can move toward making amends?
Any thoughts about that?
Well, just like we've been discussing already, when we really stop to think about how much we've been forgiven, we begin to change on the inside. That's what's required. We have to change ourselves. And then many times, I don't know, I would think the resentment, I mean, I had some resentment towards others. I didn't feel like they had harmed me, only that I felt like they were judging me. But as I've come closer to God and realized how much I've been forgiven, I don't even think about that anymore. They have not harmed me. I harmed myself. So I think we just have to work on ourselves first. And a lot of times the supposed harm may just go away. It may just not even be a problem anymore. But if it is a problem, it's become something that we want to deal with,
Very good. Good deal. Go ahead.
All right. Jesus told this story in Matthew 18, 23 and 24. A king decided to bring his accounts up to date with servants who had borrowed money from him. In the process, one of his debtors was brought in who owed him millions of dollars. The man begged forgiveness, continuing in verses 27 and 28, because he couldn't pay. The king was filled with pity for him, and he released him and forgave his debt. But when the man left the king, he went to a fellow servant who owed him a few $1,000s. He grabbed him by the throat and demanded instant payment.
Why do you think he did that?
Because he hadn't changed inside. He didn't realize he didn't appreciate the forgiveness that he had received. And probably if he would have, instead of immediately going to the other servant, if he would have went home and talked to his family, and altogether they maybe would have come to a understanding of how great and blessed they were to be forgiven that large amount of money, it might have been a different outcome, because he would have given time for his heart to be healed.
It's good. Anybody else have any comments on that? I agree with you. I think sometimes we're in such a hard drive, and we've got this attitude, and we
feel this weight, and I agree, maybe he never felt the real release of it,
Right.
possibly. Who knows? But but could we be more like that servant that was forgiven and then acted the same way to others?
We definitely could, but it wouldn't be in our best interest.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Go ahead.
All right. This was reported to the king, and then in the rest of the verses 32 through 35, then the king called in the man he had forgiven and said, "You evil servant, I forgave you that tremendous debt because you pleaded with me. Shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant?" Then the angry king sent the man to prison to be tortured until he had paid his entire debt. That's what my heavenly Father will do to you if you refuse to forgive your brothers and sisters.
Any thoughts on that scripture?
It's so true. I mean, we, like was mentioned earlier, we can never expect to repay the debt that God has forgiven us. So why would we not forgive others? There's just no reason for it. And it shows a lack of appreciation. It shows stubbornness. It shows haughtiness, when what we need to be is humble and just realize that we have to be like our God.
We don't have to be.
We should be.
It's in our best interest,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Thank you. Go ahead.
When we look at all that God has forgiven us, it makes sense to choose to forgive others. This also frees us from the torture of festering resentment.
What does that mean?
That means it's out of our mind. It's not something that we're always worried about and just thinking about and getting madder and madder. And though that anger and resentment can have physical effects, we can become ill or damage our body and insides with stress or resentment. We get high blood pressure. All of those things can happen if we let anger and resentment fester.
Good. Do we have anybody else that had a comment? I hear some noises over here. I don't know who it was. Was it Lori?
I'm just agreeing.
Just agreeing?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Any comments, Lori?
Nope.
Okay. Go ahead.
We can't change what others have done to us, but we can write off their debts and become willing to make amends. And
What do you think that means?
that means when we change our heart, we want to do what we can to make amends to those we've hurt. And we also can learn to let go or forgive them if they've hurt us. And that will just make our whole life better. We won't have to have those internal emotions and hesitance because we want to have a relationship with our friends and families, and if we are just angry with them, that the relationship is not going to be very good.
So, Robert, what'd you learn from this lesson tonight?
I've learned that God has forgiven me countless and immeasurable debt. I'm so thankful for that. Therefore, I need to be forgiving of others no matter what. And I need to forgive myself, because that will make me more willing and able to ask for forgiveness from others.
It's good. Good. Very good. So, what's your takeaway from tonight?
I wish it didn't take me so long to learn this lesson.
No,
But
don't we all?
I'm glad that I finally did, because
Thank the Lord.
yeah.
Amen. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it. All right. Reflection and questions.
Robert, it took me about 14 years to where I no longer complain about forgiving people. And you can ask Doug, every time he say something about it, I would always complain. Like, I don't want to make amends to these people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
Really?
What, are you questioning if I actually complained?
Yeah, I just, did you complain?
Oh, a lot. Okay. Are there people on my list that I'm having trouble forgiving for their part in our relationship? Actually, not anymore. A year ago, there were 2 people that I think it may have been this lesson, actually, or one very similar, to where I was having a very hard time with even becoming willing to forgive them because of the domestic violence or the level of deception that I endured while I was in relationship with them. And I've actually come to a place where, like, I really feel like I've forgiven them. And I'll check with myself, and I'm like, well, if I was to ever, the way I do it is like, I imagine if I ever ran into them in public, how would I respond? And like, with one of them, there's still a level of fear because that was domestic violence. Like, that was a really, really bad relationship. And the other one, maybe not as much content, which is a huge growth for me for both of them. So, yeah, I really feel like I have forgiven them. And I guess time would only tell, like, if I actually did see them in public, like, would I respond even the way I imagine I would respond? I don't know. I hope I never run into them in public, is the truth, but I don't want to be put to that test. However, it is hilarious because the guy that I was talking to earlier actually has the same exact name as one of the men. And I'm like, there's no coincidences that I'm like having this conversation with this guy who has the same exact name as one of them. And yeah, it blew my mind. So, and we talked a lot today about forgiveness and stuff. So maybe that was God putting a person like a clone maybe in my path to help me through that part of the forgiveness.
Or a practice session.
Or maybe. We'll see. So, yeah. I'm not
So-
going to name
so-
names.
So how do you think you did in your practice session?
Well, with the new person with the same name, phenomenally. And I wasn't scared, like, whenever I saw his name, I didn't want to, like, at first I was like, this is odd. Past me would have been like, I'm not going to talk to this person. Because with the other guy, the domestic violence guy, I won't even so much as like on any dating app, I won't even like a person with the same first name. You know, because I feel, in my opinion, I feel names carry weight. But in this circumstance, I do feel like that it was a divine appointment to have, because also to put my trust back into potentially having a partner who believes in God too. Because with this other certain individual with the same name but the original, that really tarnished my view on relationships and stifled a part of me that really desired having a godly husband. You know, and so I feel like that a part of me is healed or healing now, because same name, conversation about God and forgiveness in a different setting. And now I'm more open to possibly having a partner who is a godly man, you know, or at least loves God, you know. So I do feel like that this was a great thing. Yeah. So I mean, obviously it did something, because I walked in and Chris is like, you look different.
Yeah, I knew it was either, one of those things that.
I was glowing
that made you
different.
Smile.
Yeah.
Or then when you said it was meeting somebody new, I realized right away that I recognized that.
Yeah.
I know exactly how that feels.
Yeah. It is great.
Yeah.
So what keeps me from letting others off the hook? Nothing anymore. Nothing. Like, and whenever things do come up, like in conversation, it's like the Holy Spirit's in my head. It's like, don't go there. You don't need to go there. You know, because you let it go. Don't pull it back up. And it's almost like I have, like the Holy Spirit's a hat on my head, not letting me access the things that I am trying to willingly forgive and forget, you know? And the best thing about it too is like, as you forgive and your neuroplasticity is rewiring your brain, and those negative neuropaths are dying and the positive ones are coming back online, you get to replace those negative memories with positive memories, which has been phenomenal. So getting to get more good memories from my childhood. So
Awesome.
so the rest of the question is, what keeps me from letting others off the hook? Fear, resentment, or caretaking. Before, it was like I would have a hard time with separating forgiveness from allowance. You know, if I forgive them, am I allowing or saying that what they did was okay? You know,
Condoning.
or condoning their behavior. Which I guess, like, this is talking about willing to make an amends for those that I've hurt. Well, you know, a lot of my situation was we hurt each other, you know, and so as somebody who's overcome and overcoming codependency, you know, part of that is separating out my stuff from their stuff, and then owning my stuff, and then but not owning theirs. So so caretaking is probably the biggest thing, where I would always take all of it on as mine and like always just blame myself. But no, there's, you know, I've always taught that whenever there is a conflict in a relationship, there's three sides to the stories: yours, theirs, and the truth. And it takes two to have conflict.
So, and it takes two to have compassion and rebuild it back together. So, and when those two aren't involved, then that's where you just need to go your separate ways. So,
I want to say that on the sheet that I prepared, that I have a definition of caretaking on the bottom of that page 2, and just talking about that because sometimes it's really hard to figure some of that out, and it's just some information that I thought was pretty good. And one quick definition on that, as far as letting people off the hook, is releasing people into God's hands. Instead of caretakers want to take on the responsibility and oversight of other people, trying to help them, supposedly, and basically we can get in the way of God and that other person from growing and maturing. So anyway, you can read that. It's on that sheet. That
I'm going to read it for the people online,
Okay.
since they don't have a sheet. Caretaking, a simple way to explain caretaking is assuming responsibility for someone else's choices, feelings, or consequences instead of allowing them and God to carry those responsibilities. Forgiveness begins when we stop trying to control another person's life and entrust both of them and the outcome to God. And even, control doesn't always have to look like this, rough and like I've got a big firm grasp on you. It could look like, oh man, what is a good word for this? Manipulation wrapped with this fake false love called enabling. That is control, because you're enabling the person and therefore you have some control over the outcome, or so you think. So I just wanted to put that out there because that was my issue.
and really the bottom line is we have to really let God control the outcome, and we can care for people, and it's healthy to care for people, but to be a caretaker and take on the control or the responsibility of another person is going across the line.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Sometimes no is the best gift you can give to somebody.
It's kind of like loaning money to people.
Yeah.
That just kind of, for some reason, came to mind.
So just remember that no is a really good gift to give somebody. Okay. What blocks me from forgiving others for the wrongs done to me? As of right now, I've forgiven everything that I can recall in the past. Not say like in the future, I hope that I'm quick to forgive. The first, like, question 3A, fear of what others would think of me. No, that was never it. It was definitely probably pride. Because, I grew up, I always felt like, rephrase that, felt like I had to be the strong daughter, the independent daughter. I've talked a lot about my childhood and about how, I wasn't really allowed to have emotions. So I did allow my anger to control my life for quite a bit of it. That right there is what really blocked me from forgiving others, is just resentment in so many different fashions. And that is pride too. So, but I let go of that resentment and I let go of that pride, and I had to become willing, like whenever I started doing the inner childhood healing work, I had to become willing to, in therapy, they call it cognitive reprocessing. And I had to go through those traumatic experiences that had molded my anger and molded me and my quote unquote personality. And I had to reprocess them in my brain to bring me to a place of compassion for my parents, to let go of that resentment that I had, the compassion for my sister that I had to let go of, compassion for my grandparents that I had to let go of the resentment and replace it. And, and it took, I've been in therapy 9 years, and it's taken a lot on top of this, on top of recovery. So it's a lot of work. Other
But
questions?
is it worth it?
Very much.
Okay, I just thought I'd.
Very much, because I know that I am a whole different person now than what I was even a year ago. So another question, it says fear of letting others see my hurts. That was a big one. Seeing hurt for what it was, hurt, instead of, because so in my family, a lot of hurt is displayed as anger, and that was always okay. But fear of letting others people see my hurt as far as being vulnerable, and sitting there, like when I sat down and I had like a very vulnerable conversation with my dad about how like I desired to have a relationship with him and tried to keep my emotions like at bay without them getting overboard and stuff, and not trying to bring stuff up, but actually crying for the first time in front of my dad about how broken our relationship was. Like that was a rough conversation to have for me because I was the angry child. And so, but a lot has come from it. I might not always go to his house and sit down and stuff, but he'll come to my camper and sit down and spend a couple hours, and we'll have conversations, and it's just great. Or we send videos back and forth of the alien jokes on Facebook, and it's great. And so I get like this really cool conversation and this relationship with my dad now. Is it what I've completely desired? Not necessarily, but it's a whole lot better than what it was. One day I'm gonna hug my dad and it's gonna be an awesome hug, and I'm not gonna feel weird about it. That's and I might take him fishing. He really likes fishing, so we'll see.
All right.
Yeah. Fear of conflict or protecting others' feelings to avoid conflict. There was a lot of that, like especially in my relationship, like romantic relationships, because every relationship has a different dynamic, right? So, with my family, they saw more of like my anger and stuff like as a constant, but then like in my romantic relationships, I'd kind of be all over the place. One minute I'd be loving and caring and nurturing and all these things, and then the next minute I'm flying off the handle and I might be throwing things or screaming and stuff like that. And like that was the past me. That's not who I am now. But the fear of conflict, I would always try to keep conflict at a very minimal level in my romantic relationships. So I can say I let them walk all over me, but also I can recognize that also I felt personally that gave me some level of control as well. Keep it sweet, keep it enabling, keep it kind. At least I can control that, and until because sometimes the conflicts need, especially in several of my relationships that were toxic or violent, like the conflict had to come, it really had to. So I had to get over my fear of conflict. So, and maybe you can point at fear of conflict within yourself too, on, you're already conflicted if you're struggling to forgive somebody. So if you're facing your own internal conflict, then maybe that's a big thing that you need to recognize. Okay, do you want to ask these questions?
I'll just read
You want me to just read them?
those that you're interested in reading.
Why do you think Jesus compared our sins against God to an unpayable debt? That one really baffled me. That one's the one where I was just like, I have no idea. I don't know. What's your answer?
Well, won't you ask the group?
What do you guys think? On the second page, second column,
Actually,
says-
we talked about this earlier, but I think you were out of the room.
oh,
Go ahead, Robert.
Well, in my own case, when I pray to God, I ask for forgiveness of my sins. And sometimes I'm specific. Like I'm trying to quit smoking. And I say, God, please forgive me for harming my body for smoking. And help me stop. And then 10 minutes later, I'm asking someone for a cigarette, you know? So it feels like it's going to be unpayable because I keep on sinning. It's not nearly, my sins aren't nearly as bad as the sins that I used to do as far as gambling, but I sin every day. We all do. We can never repay that, but God sent Jesus to pay that sin so that we can have hope of future life where the sin is gone away.
something just came to me that said, there's nothing that we can do without Jesus because the sacrifice had to be perfect and unblemished. But there's nothing, there's no act, there's nothing that we can do to ever pay it back. How can you pay back a God that owns everything?
It's true.
You know?
And like Robert was saying earlier, it's an enormous debt that is, there's no way to pay it. As you
Yeah.
just said, there's just no way to pay it. And that, and this story compares, that debt as our debt as an enormous debt that we can't pay. And that the only way through this situation is through God's grace, His mercy, and by receiving that. And that and one of the ways that we can tell if our heart is positioned right is being able to be a bearer of mercy to others, in my opinion.
The second question, which is harder for you, accepting God's forgiveness or forgiving someone else? I really will say that I feel like that I've experienced that forgive as you have been forgiven, or that you will be forgiven at the same measure as you forgive. I really feel like that I've experienced that because I did for a long time in my resentment had a very hard time accepting God's forgiveness, and it was almost like every time I would let go an ounce of resentment and I would ask Him for forgiveness, He's like, I've already forgiven you, and it just wanted to be like, I know that I've already forgiven you, but I could never feel it. I could never accept it. I could never hear Him. But I do think they go hand in hand. So.
But the scripture that you basically quoted there, that it's about forgiveness. That however we measure it out, it'll be measured back to us, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. And that's out of Luke 6:38. If you want to look it up, and it's not on your sheet, it's on my sheet because I have some extra scriptures on there, so just in case, like that. So good.
Is there anyone you've been unwilling to forgive? Like I said, like there were 2 a year ago, and not anymore. Not to my knowledge. Like I haven't had anybody else come up. I struggled a little bit with my stepmom, but I'm like, I forgive her even though I don't understand, what the disconnect is, and I still forgive the behavior because it's not personal. And so that's another place that I've started, like even with like new stuff, it's like what's really not personal because that person has their own stuff. So I don't feel like that there is anything that I need to forgive because it's not personal. So
You're not holding it.
not holding it. So, what has holding on to that resentment cost you? So, holding on to the past resentment that I had cost me a lot with my relationship with my children, where I just wasn't free to be like the free, loving person that I know I am deep inside. I stayed so bottled up and constricted that, and I lived so much in fear as a mom that, now that they're adults and hindsight's 2020, there's a lot of things that like I wish I would have done or been able to do, but it was all because resentment held me back. And I will say it was all resentment and grief, which they are basically two sides of the same coin. How does remembering God's forgiveness change your attitude towards those who have hurt you? Again, it's not personal. That's where I'm at right now. Like, it's just not personal. And I think I can kind of finally understand what Jesus meant. Like, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. Like I've said before here, like, there was so much in my life that I didn't realize was wrong until it was pointed out to me. I didn't realize that there was so much in my behavior that was wrong until a therapist said something or somebody said something, and even, the demons you have to face whenever you are trying to get rid of resentment, or you are trying to let go of fear, or you are trying to, forgive. Like, you never know the spiritual side of it that a person's dealing with, let alone whether you know what you're dealing with. You don't even realize you're dealing with your own demons. So,
But one of the key words there is attitude, and that's what you were talking about a while ago. Choosing it's your attitude towards individuals.
yeah,
You said your way that you termed it was it's not personal,
it's not personal.
and that's an attitude, right?
Yeah.
Good. Go ahead.
How can forgiving others help prepare your heart to make amends in step 8? It feels lighter. You ever just, you ever walking around with a lot of stuff, and like you notice, and if you don't, maybe pay attention, like you notice you breathe shallow,
Good.
your heart feels heavy,
Good.
your shoulders might hurt, you're weighed down, you might get a lot of headaches, like your body just feels heavy. Your body just feels tired. And I'm going to tell you right now, as you release those things, like you get a pep in your step, you get a lightness. It's like I could sit here and I can actually feel the air move in and out of my lungs, and I've not felt that before. And like, it's like I can feel my heartbeat all the way from the front to the back of my chest. And like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, it's light. You're just light. It's kind of like weighing your heart against a feather. Like, can you feel your heart and it feel light as a feather? And it kind of feels that way. It's beautiful. So
Awesome.
thanks. What's the difference between forgiving someone and trusting them again? I think once you forgive somebody, and like for me, choosing to say it's not personal, I can trust, maybe not trust, maybe not allow them back into my life, but trust that they are dealing with their own stuff. They are who they are. Not saying that I don't believe that they can change, because I obviously, like, I would never do what I do for a living or try or be up here if I didn't believe people can change. But the difference between forgiving someone and trusting them again, you can forgive somebody and not allow the behavior or allow them back into your life. And again, this is gonna be with different people too, and I think it's a different answer for different people. Like it was a different answer for my grandmother than it was my ex. Because like I still desire to have a relationship with my grandmother. I still desire to have a relationship with my family, where I don't necessarily desire to have a relationship with my ex, And so that's a hard one. What do you guys think? Like, what's the difference between forgiveness and trusting them again? Anybody? Robert?
I think forgiveness means you're not going to hold something against them.
Mhm.
You're going to let them live their life. You're not going to bring up the past hurt. But trust means, like you were saying, that you will have, you will let them know your inner feelings.
Mhm.
You will be willing to share more openly. I know that that's a big thing with my own family. I believe they've forgiven me, but it's going to take time
Mhm.
for them to trust me.
Mhm. I was just sitting here thinking too about like my relationship with the girls' father. It took a decade for me to really forgive everything. I would forgive bits and pieces, but the fact like he would still do some things that would hurt me that were still in the same ways that he hurt me in the decade we were together. And so it would bring everything back up. But since I have completely released it and have come to this place and understanding that it's not personal, I have a pretty decent relationship with him and his wife now, that we were able to go to our oldest wedding and we could habitate in the same space and even have a conversation and laugh and like and so I will say that there is a level that like of trusting that I'm freely able to be my full personality in his presence again, where when we were together, he would make fun of or he would cut me down, and so like I would hide, and I just became a totally different person because but now I'm able to actually fully be myself again in his presence. And if he does say something that cuts me down, it's not personal and it's not new. So I don't have to hold on to it. So that came to me as Robert
Well,
was
there's,
speaking.
asking this question, I think one unspoken part of this is, because a lot of people think if I forgive a person, I must trust them. I have to trust them if I forgive them. And that's not the case. You can forgive them, but I would say this for me: I trust people for them to be the way they are.
Mhm.
That may sound strange, but I can forgive them, but I trust them to be the way they are, and
So as acceptance.
I accept reality the way that it is.
Mhm.
And if I compare it to maybe a mean dog inside of a fence, I trust that dog to be the way that it is, and I'm not going to be stupid by walking into its territory.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that that's the way it's always going to be, but until there's a relationship there that the dog wants and I want, but I can't, I don't have to go with a club there every time because the first time I went in the yard, it bit me.
Mhm.
And so then I say it's a bad dog. Oh, it just was doing its job. It was just being the way that it was. I was the one that was the intruder, just to help tell the story, So I think that's some of this, and I think you really made a good statement there about, you illustrated trusting others that you had to forgive. Now, you trust them. You can trust. Trust is multifaceted. Okay, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
There's, you know, I trust. You know, just because I trust them to be the way they are here, doesn't mean I can trust them all the way over here. Does that make sense?
I'm not gonna remarry him. You know, yeah.
I had a guy that used to work at Teledyne, and we were talking, and he said we were talking about this, and he said, "Yeah, there's two people in the plant. One of them, you can tell them a secret, you can trust them, and they'll never tell anybody. But you don't let him pass the hat, because he will take money out of the hat. But there's another guy, you can trust him with every penny. Okay, you know, but you can't tell him secret.
It's true.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a really good illustration he gave me, and that's been a long time ago. So
Okay. Is there a relationship where God may be asking you to take the first step towards forgiveness or reconciliation? I like that there is an or in there and it doesn't say and or. It just says or. Because forgiveness and reconciliation really are two totally different things, and you can forgive somebody but not necessarily reconcile with them. And
which is still right along the same lines of what we were already
Yeah.
talking about in the
Yeah.
previous one.
So I'm not going to reconcile all 5 of my past toxic relationships, but I can forgive and, you know, own my part and let it go. But with my grandmother, I wish I would have been able to have opportunity to reconcile with her. With some of the people who have passed away, there are things that I wish I would have been able to reconcile with, you know, my cousin, my sister, my parents, even my aunt that is still alive, and my uncle, because like I've had beef with everybody in my family. Like that's kind of what our family has done before. But I've been able to reconcile every relationship with my family. It might not be to the level that it was or to the level that it's going to be, but it's in the process. And the more I show up willingly to family functions and allow myself to be myself again with them, the more it gets reconciled, because I've noticed like the more I'm able to just show up and be myself, the more their walls come down too. You know, you ever been in the presence of somebody you got beef with and it's 2 brick walls fighting each other? You know, if somebody's got to be willing to let down the first wall if you truly want reconciliation. And that's where forgiveness comes in, and whether they forgive me or not, I mean, I hope so. I mean, that's the process, right? Like, I honestly, I don't know what they would hold against me other than me being an ass. Because, I mean, that's probably what, if anybody has anything to hold against me, it's that. Me being just an ass. And if there's other stuff, I'm not aware. Hopefully never. And it can just be reconciled, but we'll see. Yeah. Anyway, that's all of your extra questions.
Yep. So why did you pick this topic?
Because it's something that I have in this last year been working really hard on, to forgive people and move through forgiveness and work on reconciliation with my family. And so it felt like something that I was ready to talk about and share my experience.
So you'd say it's working well for you?
Yes.
So what'd you learn out of this lesson?
That I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And probably more in alignment, I would say, and hopefully this isn't arrogant or proud, but I'd probably say this is the most in alignment with God's actual will for my life than what it's probably ever been. But isn't that the goal as we move through life, getting more in alignment with what God's will is for our life?
I think so.
Yeah.
So what's your takeaway?
Keep doing take a nap. Like, it's been a lot of mental work, honestly, and I have been resting a whole lot more, because when you're doing soul work, spiritual work, mental work, it's exhausting. So, but other than that, just keep trucking along. You know, they say there's nothing new under the sun, but every day I get up and that goes through my head, I'm like, except for today. Today's the very first, August 1st, 2026 that's ever existed. You know, so tomorrow's gonna be the first August 2nd. What are you gonna do with it? August 2nd of 2026. So yeah,
So that was great.
thanks.
Give her a hand. Yes. So what do you think about my extra questions? You think I asked too many or?
Nope, I love them. I love all the Doug questions.
Ah, okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any comments? What did you learn out of the lesson tonight? Anyone?
Not live in revenge.
Good.
Be open to forgiveness.
Don't live in revenge. And if you do live in revenge, how's that gonna affect you?
All kinds of bad ways.
Anybody else? Willie, what'd you learn out of this lesson today?
We got a lot to work on. Forgiveness is more beneficial to you than what you're giving to them.
That's true, and I think that was even on the sheet.
Was it?
Yep. All right, that's okay. Anybody else?
That is very therapeutic.
Okay, well, thank you. Next week, we're gonna double down on forgiveness. So it's Willie's gonna be doing the step, and it's gonna be on fruit of forgiveness. What do you think about that?
Oh, nice.
Fruit of forgiveness. She likes it.
I do.
And Lori's gonna be doing, or is it Vanessa gonna be doing the questions?
No, it's, you're right.
I know I was just harassing.
Oh my God, no.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you and give you his peace. Amen.
Amen.
Make healthy choices. See you.